Welcome, Real Talk family, to another episode of Real Talk in Real Estate. Of course, I'm your man, Corey, the Money Man Smith, in the building. Also with me is the philosopher. What's going on, man?
You're killing me, man. We got to get better. We have been doing this for a very long time, and you still can't get focused when the lights is on.
What you mean? When the lights is on, I just got focused.
No.
I got my coffee and everything.
Oh, come on, man. I got to do a lot of editing on this one, man.
Look. Don't show out in front of company, man.
You gotta show out for the company.
Don't show out in front of company.
Ralph does not consist of company. As much shit as he talks.
I'm guessed, man.
He gets. So in the building with us today, we don't have a closer, but we've replaced him with Raphael Vallier. Raphael Vallier is a financial planner and one of the best financial planners on this side of the Mississippi, as I say. What's up, Ralph?
Not much. Appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Man, appreciate you for coming, brother. Appreciate you for coming.
Most definitely, Doc.
We're going to get in here. We're going to talk about some financial stuff, some financial side of the real estate business, because you got to make sure the money is right. And if anybody knows, then I definitely know that the money got to be right before you can do anything as it pertains to real estate.
Yep.
So first and foremost, Ralph, won't you let the people know a little bit about you and a little bit about your background?
Got you. So you guys gonna have to bear with me. A little congested today, but so pretty much a little background on myself and the company. Our company name is INF Solutions, financial consulting firm. We've been around for about 5 years now. I've been in the business for around 10. Worked at some of the top finance companies in the country and world, Northwestern Mutual and JP Morgan. Decided to start our firm after spending some time at both companies. Love both companies. They're great companies, but felt like, we could offer more for our clients, be a little bit more diverse in our approach, and really try to focus on education and service. A little bit about myself. Majored in finance at North Texas University. Spent some time out there, interned with Northwestern while I was there, and got my training and certifications from Harvard Business, and the rest is pretty much history.
Harvard, ooh.
Must be nice.
Oh.
Nice.
Like I tell people all the time, man, I don't even put it on my resume. I never touched foot on campus, so I'm not a Harvard student.
Hey, look, if
Not
that
something I claim.
if that degree says Harvard across it, yeah, man.
Well,
regardless of
that's
you
what
step.
It
Oh, it
got
don't?
the big
That's
H in
not
the
a
middle.
degree, it's certification.
Oh, it's certification.
Yeah,
But
certification.
it's still certification. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
Who all
you
can
know.
be certified from Harvard, man? That's
Exactly.
an accomplishment
Exactly.
within
Hey,
itself.
it's still a
dog.
prestigious company.
For real.
Yeah, a prestigious university.
Yeah.
No, I got you. So have you always landed in the financial industry? I know you talked about some of the previous companies that you worked with, but fresh out of college with your degree, did you actually land in doing financial services?
Yeah. So when I was actually at North Texas, my junior year, I started interning with Northwestern Mutual, which was number one at that point in time. It was the number one internship program for all industries in the country. So interned there for 2 years. Once I graduated, they offered me a full-time job and went on. So I've always been in the finance industry. So
Gotcha.
finance and insurance.
And you know what? One of the best things about this podcast is that we like to give great content and great information to the people out there that are either, one, too scared to seek it, or two, they just don't have that person-to-person interaction skills to want to, kind of approach it head on. One of the biggest questions that I think a lot of people have out there is that, or one of the most misconceptions is that you have to have $1 million before you can come sit down and talk to a financial planner. Gotcha. So one of my biggest questions, and one of the things I want you to kind of address is that, one, do you need to have $1 million to come talk to a financial planner? And then two, in your opinion, at what point do you think it's great for a person to sit down with a financial planner and then get their business affairs in order?
Gotcha. Great question. I'll actually answer the latter first. And essentially, at what point I would say is the moment that, you're getting ready to enter into the workforce. So I would even start in college, and which I did, in which I tried to encourage a lot of people I went to school with to do so as well. And the reason being is the younger you are, the easier it is to help you attain your goals because essentially you have more time, right?
Right.
So, that's just simple math, simple logic. But as far as minimums goes, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to leave the companies I was at. Is because, and I understand why, but at the end of the day, majority of your companies are going to have minimums, 200,000 or 300,000 or whatever the case may be of the type of clientele that they want to actually target. And for us, we want to help everybody. It's not the most profitable situation for us. It's not. It's actually probably frowned upon within the community, right? Because they feel like you should have certain minimums to turn a certain profit to justify working with clients. But for us, we just don't turn anybody away. So we've actually lost money for working and helping with people, but that's our way of trying to give back and help and try to get this information out to everybody. Because you got to think about it. I mean, there's still a lot of different things out there. A lot of different people out there that might not be able to afford, that type of investment, but they still need the information, the advice, the steps of how to get there eventually, and so that's part of the way our company gives back.
I love that.
Solid. That was solid.
Yeah. I love that part about it. And then that's kind of one of the things that one of the benefits of dealing with a company like INF Solutions is that you're not dealing with all the red tape, you're not dealing with the BS, you're not dealing with the lack of customer service just because you don't have the amount of money that they deem is suitable for their needs. Because a lot of times if you don't have the money that they require or the minimums that they require, you essentially get treated like a second-class citizen. You know what I mean?
Correct. I think actually, to even speak to that point, I think that's kind of what helped our company get to where we've gotten in a short period of time. In 5 years, we are up to 4 different offices. We have offices in Houston and in Dallas. We've grown pretty fast, partnered with Fortune 500 companies across the board. So we've done we've had a lot of fast growth. And I honestly contribute that to us not having minimums. Believe it or not, it's like that person who might make $40,000 or $50,000 a year who doesn't have disposable income or investments or assets to invest. That same person knows somebody who does.
Yeah.
And so if I treat that person as if he's $1 million client, and then the person who he knows that is $1 million client is not even getting that treatment, then how do you think they feel?
Right.
You're making $40,000 a year, but your advisor or your financial planner is treating you better than mine. I need to switch, and that's when referrals come into place.
Of course.
Solid.
So then now for those people that kind of have no idea what a financial planner will cost, right? So a financial planner is kind of a scale, I would imagine. I don't necessarily know myself about how much a financial planner will cost. When you have somebody that's kind of trying to figure out if they even have the budget to come talk to a financial planner, can you give them a general idea of kind of how the fees are set and then how you guys actually get paid when they come in and see you?
Yeah, definitely. So we're a very transparent firm, and we always speak about how we actually get paid up front, the very first meeting. So everybody understands what they're getting into. There's 3 different ways financial planners will make money. So depending on their licenses and structure and everything else, they'll get paid. The first way is through consultation fees. Okay. So what will happen is they'll charge anywhere from, depending on how advanced the portfolio is. So essentially, when I say portfolio, I just mean how much assets you have, et cetera, where they're invested. A consultation will cost anywhere from $1,000 to potentially $3,000 for that consultation. The second way that they'll make money is by fees, so fee-based business. So if they're managing your account, they'll charge you around 1% or so, give or take, to actually manage your account on an annual basis. And then the third way is through commissions, and the commissions essentially just stating that if they place your money with an investment firm, investment company, like say you buy J.P. Morgan's mutual funds or whatever the case may be, then they'll receive a commission from selling one of those products, right? Or one of those funds, investments, whatever the case may be. So those are the 3 ways. Our firm itself, we charge no consultation fees. We do that as another way of giving back and educating our clients. Everybody who comes to our doors, nobody's ever charged a consultation fee. As far as commissions goes, the majority of the time, commissions won't come out of the client's pocket anyways. It mostly comes directly from
when
the
you
company.
sell the product.
Exactly. Some cases it might, depending on if we're doing certain types of investments. But again, we're always upfront about it. And then the other way essentially is the management fees, in which our firm only charges management fees if we're actively managing your account. What I mean by that is if we're actively trading on your account, we're making constant moves. So we're not just doing this holding strategy. We're more so just doing day trades, things of that nature. Those are the type of accounts that will actually charge fees. So very, very reasonable.
Man, I absolutely love that, and then it kind of relates to almost, and we talk about real estate, kind of like a real estate agent that represents a buyer. It doesn't necessarily cost a buyer anything.
No, it doesn't.
They just get paid on the sellers from the seller side. So essentially, you guys are the same way. You guys get paid from the in one of the avenues, you guys can get paid from the seller side. So it absolutely costs them nothing out of pocket.
Yeah.
And it costs them nothing to come in here and get this education that they need to make sure that they're set up for the next 10, 15, 20 years, or even retirement for that matter. Right. So next thing is, when we talk about actually for somebody that's planning to purchase a home, they want to budget, they want to figure out what they should be able to afford or what they can afford. Because a lot of times, I just know from the mortgage side of things, people can qualify for more than what they feel comfortable paying. Right, as far as a monthly payment, we're talking about principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? So when it comes to actually planning to purchase a home, what are some of the positives or the tips that you can give to people that's just now entering the workforce, coming out of school, entering the workforce, or even those 40 or 50-year-olds that never purchased a house? What are some of the tips that you can provide for them in order to be a homeowner one day?
Well, I'll make it simple. It's always on a case-by-case basis, right? It's all situational. It's never a one solution fits all, right? So, but what I will say is the thing that we've noticed is there's definitely a correction coming in the real estate marketplace. And I think the reason why that's coming is because it's already really started, but the reason why is because of what you're speaking to. People aren't taking into account everything that they're having to pay for when they buy a home. They're just looking at the payment and saying, "Oh, well, this is my payment. I can afford this payment."
Right, right.
Yes.
So what happens is they're not thinking about the taxes on that payment and how if the valuations of that house goes up, the taxes goes up. Right?
Yes,
most definitely.
The taxes are a variable. The other thing they're not thinking about is the insurance. They're not thinking about wear and tear on the home. They're not thinking about a lot of different things. It's like the guy who finally can afford a Maserati and goes and buys a Maserati and doesn't realize the tires might cost him $1,000.
Yes.
The window breaks and that's $500 per window. Like,
right.
Or the maintenance oil change could be $2,500. Some craziness. Yeah, I got
exactly. So we tend to, as people, focus on the bottom line when there's way more to it that comes along with the bottom line, right? So I would say really break down the numbers and make sure you can afford the whole situation, not just the exact note on your mortgage, right?
That's so true.
Because if you look at the numbers right now in Houston, we are number 2, I believe, in the whole country for real estate. Dallas is number 1. Well, with all the growth that we're seeing, the expansions, the shortage of housing, all these different things, you would think that's all good things. But then when you look at the debt-to-income ratio, it's really high.
Absolutely.
And so what that tells you is if the valuations of all these properties are going up, then people's taxes are about to start increasing.
Yes.
Well, if your debt-to-income ratio is high, then the problem is you won't be able to continuously afford all the other fees that comes along with owning a home, which now means people are going to start losing their houses.
Exactly.
Market correction.
Exactly. And it speaks big volumes because I don't think the appreciation and the raises that people get on an annual basis will not be able to keep up with the increase from the taxes, from the from the appreciation of the actual
working anything now.
They won't be able to keep up with the expenses, and it becomes a big problem. Then we're kind of setting them up for failure. It's one of the reasons why FHA, or HUD for that matter, and Fannie Mae have kind of pulled back from these high-risk loans. We're no longer able to approve these people at a high rate like we used to, just because they see this being a problem. And they're trying to do something about it, trying to prevent the 2008, 2000
Is that big
crash.
correction that happened, about a month ago?
Yeah,
Everything got a shit.
exactly. And then Fannie Mae's was actually last year that they decided to pull back on theirs. So there has been adjustments, and because they pay a bunch of people to analyze the data and then keep them updated on what's going on, and then they make corrections accordingly. But philosopher, I kind of want to get your opinion on it. What's kind of some tips that you can see as far as people trying to prepare themselves to purchase their first home?
Save as much money as possible. As Mr. Vallier hit so eloquently, there are a lot more things than just that payment. You know, we talk a lot about when the AC go out. We've been in homes where people in there just sweating with window units. You know what I'm saying? Something happened with the roof. Storm come through. We had a storm a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty sure the insurance company getting all type of claims on roof damage or shingle damage or leaks all of a sudden is coming out. There's a deductible that come with that phone call to the insurance company. Are you really prepared to pay that? I think it's what, 1% of the value of the value of the policy, which is $1,500. Do you really got that sitting in the bank somewhere? Really get yourself prepared for what? I didn't take that back. Really try your best to understand what it's going to take to get there, because you can't really prepare for life. Life is just going to happen one way or another, and the only thing you can do is just best understand what can happen and do your best with that. But yeah, I do believe what Mr. Vallier says about in regards to the taxes going up, insurance premiums going to start going up as well to offset the cost of what has been going on for the past 5 years now.
Absolutely. So everything starts looking good. You know, everybody kind of want to start increasing and taking advantage of it, especially since things have kind of been a little slow as it relates to a little bit of last year. So everybody want to try to make up for lost time. Mr. Ralph, I want to ask you, a lot of people don't necessarily start with the end in mind, and you kind of hear that a lot. And when I talk about the end, I'm talking about retirement. Retirement should be the ultimate planning goal, although there's a lot of people that don't even think about retirement or can't even, or decide that they just will never be able to retire. So when you talk about from a real estate standpoint, people wanting to retire, can you talk about some of the planning that goes into preparing people for retirement as it pertains to real estate?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a few factors within that conversation that we can kind of focus on. One being your overall mortgage itself, right? So with that being said, there's a lot of different strategies out there, and I'm not saying that any of these strategies are wrong. It's just our personal preference in retirement is when it comes to your mortgage, that's the most expensive. I mean, the largest debt that you probably are going to have on the books, as well as your most expensive note that you're going to have, right? So typically is what we've seen. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule. So with that being said, our philosophy, our beliefs is that you should be wiping that out. So although that's going to put a major dent in your retirement, right, and lower your retirement income drastically from what your projections might have been for income, at the end of the day, you're eliminating your largest debt, and that expense is no longer needed anymore. So therefore, you don't need as much money in retirement as you did initially. So that's something, and then you'll hear, hey, well, what about my tax write-offs, right? So then we'll have the conversation of, well, how much are you able to write off on your actual mortgage? Is that saving you more than how much your mortgage is costing on a monthly basis? It's not, right? Not even close. Wow. So at the end of the day, is saving $300 or $500 or $1,000 a year worth the delta of the $800 or $1,200 or however much your actual mortgage is every single month? Right. So it just doesn't make sense. And
speak to the peace of mind as well too, because knowing that you're not going to have that same type of income as if you were actively working, anyway, and you know that monthly payment is coming. Like the stress of it, like you can't even put a valuation on it. Yeah. Not a monetary valuation, but anyways, I ain't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I mean, you're hitting on it. And that's the big thing that we see with our clients that are retired is they are comfortable in knowing that, hey, look, like my largest expense is taken care of, right? So. So those are just things that we like to stress and address to our clients ahead of time is let's plan for this, right? Let's plan to get to the point to where when we are retired, first off, we should be on the back side or the downside of how much time we have left on our mortgage to where, we only have a fraction of what we initially owed when we bought the house to pay off. And then we take a large lump sum out of our retirement accounts, pay that off, eliminate that debt. And now we have less of a monthly expense to live off of.
Oh, man. Hey, Mr. Vallier, I got a question for you. So, if they're, let's say they're 5 years out from retirement, right, and all the numbers and the factors come out the way how you expect them to do, in that last 5 years, do they increase their investments as far as 401ks, mutual funds, because they're going to already take the big chunk of it out to pay off the mortgage?
I mean, yes and no. So you can always try to do that. Our personal philosophy is not necessarily waiting till the last 5 years to increase anything. It's more so just planning ahead of time where you don't have to increase anything. because that puts a lot of stress on you as well, because you got to think about you've been living this whole time a certain way, and now you're investing a larger amount of money to try to factor in, paying off something. So a good rule of thumb that we always explain to people is when it comes to 401ks, always put whatever the match is. For our personal clients, we don't suggest you actually going over the match. That's just because within our philosophies, we see that the average rate of return for a 401k in our country is going to be 4.8%. So we know that, we have fixed income products that can generate higher than 4.8%. So if that's the case, then let's use that money effectively, use it a little bit more wisely. But you still want to take on the match of your 401k because that's free money, right? That company's giving you. So we'll have conversations like that, and then we'll have in our planning meetings, we're actually, like Corey stated earlier, we're actually planning everything out way in advance to where by the time we get to that point, that dent in our retirement account that we're using to pay off that mortgage is not affecting us nearly as much because we've already planned for it ahead of time. So it's just all about planning and not waiting to the last minute.
Absolutely.
Got it.
And in order to figure out all that stuff or figure out what questions you need to be asking, because we don't know what we don't know. So the biggest thing is it's absolutely free, so you have nothing to lose. It's just a little bit of time. Come in and at least get that consultation, and then at least find out a roadmap of where you can kind of go. And then you can just kind of take it from there. The number one thing that I like to ask, and I like to kind of get financial advisors' opinions on, is what is your opinion on people using their money to invest in real estate?
Great question. So we actually have clients that do a lot. Most of our clients have a real estate investment portfolio. Majority of our clients do. And I get that question all the time. Real estate is a great option to invest in. Amazing option to invest in. The thing is understanding it and understanding that there's multiple options outside of just going out and trying to buy a property. I get people who come to me all day long talking about flipping homes and buying foreclosures and renting them out and doing all these different things, right? All these are great strategies. People have showed that they work. People have showed that they made a lot of money off of them. It can create a lot of passive income for yourself that can work and pay dividends in retirement, So, all those strategies are great. But when I'm talking to people, I always ask this question, especially for the people who might not be able to go out and buy 10 and 20 homes at one time, which is where it really makes sense. For the people who are buying one-offs, maybe 2 or 3 at a time, like what are you expecting to get, right? Like on average, when you look at rental income, they're going to pretty much generate around 6% a year on that income, on that investment in income, or return. So at the end of the day, when you're looking at that, there's a thing called Reits, Real Estate Investment Trust. Mm-hmm. It's an alternative investment, right? Which means an alternative way of investing into a company. Mm-hmm. Well, Reits out there will generate between 5 and 8% in dividends on an annual basis. Mm-hmm. That you don't even have to manage the house, worry about construction, worry about if this tenant is paying on time, or I got to evict this person. I have to worry about all this stress. It's just, hey, I'm going to put my money into real estate, get the same benefits of real estate, except now I don't have to manage it myself, and I just have what we call mailbox buddy, right? Right. So at the end of the day, we just explain, like, hey, there's more ways of investing in real estate without having to get your hands dirty. And I would argue that that's actually more valuable because your time is a valuation of money as well, right?
Right.
So at the end of the day, like a lot of times we don't factor in the time, the efforts, the stress that we're having to put into going out and trying to manage a portfolio ourselves, when most of us don't have that experience to begin with.
Right. That is so true.
So real estate is a great method, a great vehicle, but I would definitely say to explore all options before you pull the trigger.
Absolutely.
Solid.
I definitely think everybody has their strong characteristics, their strengths, and everybody has their weaknesses. Not everybody's built to be a landlord, right? And then for those people, you're essentially setting yourself up to fail because most tenants have a story. And if you're a sucker for a story and you don't want to collect your money, you go 2 or 3 months without getting it. You know what I mean? You setting yourself up for failure. So then in that case, you need to look into a REIT. That way it'll have a higher rate of return. Essentially, what are you seeing, philosopher, in terms of people just wanting to invest in real estate as opposed to other vehicles out there?
You get quite a few, and like Mr. Vallier said so eloquently, you're just not really understanding what it is, and there are more than one way to skin a cat. You're looking at HGTV, you're watching Property Brothers, and all those wonderful things. They go in and just say, "Oh, how simple it sounds to renovate a home," but they really don't talk about what it takes to buy a home. At the end of the day, even buying a property to invest in, you're still making a purchase, closing costs, down payments, insurance, taxes, all the same things. Factors are still there when you're doing it as an investment. If you don't have the experience and you're not really sure, get with somebody who does, or look at another option. You know what I'm saying? Who wants to sit out there and spend all day trying to find a contractor, waiting on him to come fix the AC, or waiting on the contractor to come do this, or trying to answer that phone call about why I got water coming in my house and you said you was gonna fix it, and you know you doggone well I'm not a roofer, so how I'm gonna fix something, but I'm trying to get it done. It's all about the idea of educating them and really saying, okay, do you really want to do this? I know it sounds good, and I know you got your grandfather who probably had a couple of them. Those were a different time, 1960s and 50s, that we've talked about many times. And you want to get off into it, and that's great. Just get educated and make sure you really, really want to do that, and look at all the ends of it, not just a fact of making money.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate that. Outside of that, I mean, you know, we had gave the people some great content today. Outside of kind of what we talked about, Ralph, you know, and I know when it comes to the whole financial spectrum, there's many different avenues and ways that you can go. Is there anything out there that you think is good bits of information or good resources for people that are looking to try to financially plan and plan for not only purchasing a home but plan for retirement? What are some of the values that maybe we didn't hit on here that you can add that you could give to them?
I would say kind of like what Jaime said earlier. I would say to get with a professional in each aspect of the business. You know, definitely make sure, vet them out, ask around, maybe find somebody you know has used and they're comfortable with, right, of course, but give the professional. For instance, like with insurance, a lot of people, when they are purchasing insurance on a home, like at the end of the day, they're just going with whatever was suggested, and then they never look back at that policy ever again, right?
Right.
It's getting pulled out of the account just with the mortgage, and so they just think, hey, this is it, right? Well, what they're not doing is you should be reassessing that coverage every single year.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you can save money, then switch. You know,
because some of that coverage you're not using anyway, or it's not necessary for you.
Exactly. So get with the broker. You know, an insurance broker, which we have in house. Another thing is just like with the mortgage professional. You know, if you ever need to. If you ever want to refinance, always stay on top of those different options. You know, it's a lot of different things that I would say that you need to be getting with the professional on throughout the process, to where you can always make sure that you are saving money, because every dollar counts, right? Also, I would say everybody definitely needs a CPA. We have a lot of tax preparers out there who are really good at their jobs, but CPAs, of course, have some additional perks there, and that license can actually help you out because they're guaranteeing their work.
Right.
So IRS come knocking on your door, that CPA is the one that takes the blame, not you.
So true.
And a lot of people don't understand the difference between the CPA and the tax preparer. Tax preparer, they're not taking on the liability. That liability is going to you.
That's
a big one. That's a big one.
And here, that's how much you get. That's how much you get right there. Yeah, you like that number? Oh, I can adjust it. Let me say you got extra. You got an extra payment. You got an extra child. Or you pay something extra.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of different ways, but I would say no matter what you're trying to do, before you do it, always get with a professional. Get with somebody who's experienced, who's been in the business. I'm not a believer in, a jack of all trades. So at our firm, if you notice, if you look us up, we do a lot of different things. So you would consider us a jack of all trades. So people are like, well, Ralph, that's a little contradicting, right? I mean, we have a tax division. We have a business-to-business where we do benefits division. We have insurance division, a financial planning division. We have a lot of different divisions within our company. Well, the difference is we don't allow anybody in our company to do both, do two different things. So everybody within our company is a specialist at exactly what they do. And so that's what I would say to get with. Typically, when you get with somebody who seems to be a jack of all trades. Typically, they're a master of none.
Nothing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So find somebody who's experienced, well-versed at what they do, and go to them for that. And don't be afraid of having so many people helping you within these different things, because honestly, that's what you need.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest thing to take away from this thing is you need to take action and go see a professional.
Correct.
Most definitely. Most
You know what? It's the damnedest thing, because it's like a married couple. You know, they sit in the house all day and look at each other, but it's not until they can get in front of a professional, like a therapist or a psychologist, that they can actually open up and communicate with each other.
Right.
And I think it's kind of the same way as you deal with this here, is that, you know what I'm saying, it's kind of one of those things you don't want to hit head on, but you're not going to necessarily understand the process and where you need to go until you go seek a professional.
Right.
Then you think you know, but you really don't know, right?
Correct.
Until you come and see a professional. So anyways, real talk takeaways. What you got, philosopher?
Oh man, financial consultant, financial planners, and some fly stuff, man. Super duper fly. I learned a lot dealing with Mr. Vallier. Is that what, 20 minutes, man? Come see you, Vallier. I'm gonna come see you.
Mr. Vallier added some value up in this thing. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna come see you.
Hey, Ralph. First, we want to say appreciate you for coming on.
Oh, yeah.
And providing this great information for the people that need to get in contact with you. Not won't, but need to get in contact with you. How can they get in contact with you?
Man, so I would say you can definitely give us a call. 281-961-8158 is actually my office number, so you can give me a call on that all day long. You can look us up on our website for our contact information for our company, depending on what office you're closer to. Our website is infsolutionsllc.com. I as an income, N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, solutionsllc.com. Go look us up, see a lot of different things, and then kind of, I always like to ask this question. I want to ask you guys this, but it speaks to Corey's point earlier. Anybody know what color the yield sign is?
Yellow, is it not?
Yellow and what?
Yellow and black.
Yellow and black? The yield
Black
sign?
letterings? Black letters? Yellow sign, black letters?
No, yield is red.
No, yield is red means stop. Yield
I will
means,
give y'all $100 if you could tell me what the color of the yield sign is. You said yellow and
I
black.
can Google it. Yeah, I say yellow and black.
It says
I
red
think-
and white.
There you go. So the crazy thing is, I ask this question every single day we do a presentation. Every single day. And nobody ever gets this right. They always say yellow and white.
Okay.
Because they think of yellow as caution and yield.
No,
is to
actually it's because the yield sign was yellow and white 30 years ago.
What is it now?
Red and white.
No kidding.
We drive by the yield sign and make a
All the
conscious
time.
decision of what to do when we see it every day of our lives, but never pay attention to the fact that it has changed over 30 years ago. So what I explain to people is what you said earlier. You don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
So therefore, find a professional
Yep.
to help you do things that you never knew you needed to do.
Oh yeah, man, that was a good point right there. I'm gonna have to take that one.
that
Right?
one.
I'm gonna take that one. Wait till I do a presentation again. Wait till I do a presentation again. I'm gonna say bring that one in.
It's in the bag
The
already.
next guest, I'm gonna hit him with
Already
that
in the
thing, man. I'm telling you.
It's in there. I got it already, though. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, look, if you learn nothing else by listening to this podcast or watching this video, you need to understand that you have to seek out professional help, and especially when it's FREE. You have no excuses not to.
Most definitely, man. And you can't be don't criticize something free. You know, we got that issue like, oh, it's free, so it ain't really worth nothing. That's not true, man.
Right.
Anybody who gets up in front of you that is a professional who understand whatever they're talking to you about, that's not free to them. They pay for that knowledge. Their time is spent 30 minutes to an hour telling you about what they know. That's not free. Right. That's them giving back to you. That's that value. We got that bad as a people. Think it just because
Well,
it's free.
see, I think we just got it bad as complaining, period. Because I guarantee you, if I tell you to come and pay me $1,000 to just have a conversation with me, I guarantee you're not gonna be happy to pay that either, right?
Yeah.
So by me saying free, you're not gonna be happy, and by me saying it's $1,000, you won't be happy.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But that is a great point. Is people have a tendency to complain for one, because it just kind of helps, fulfill that insecurity that they have inside. Or two, they feel like somebody trying to take advantage of them or something like that.
It's just a trust factor. All the free, the charge, to me personally, and I could be wrong, but to me personally, I don't feel like it has anything to do with value. I feel like it has everything to do with what you just said, and that's trust.
Yes.
At the end of the day, when it comes to money, we are all insecure about it. None of us are. It's the most uncomfortable conversation to have is when you're talking about money, in business, and personal life, and family life, regardless, right? So at the end of the day, it just comes to the bottom line of trust. So I think at the end of the day, you need to do it. You have to sit down with somebody. So I would much rather sit down with somebody that's free to where the only thing it costs me is time. And then at that point, I can decide if this is the right person for me to move forward with or not.
Hey, look, it's one of those things where it can't get any worse. The only thing they can do is add value, open your mind to something that you may not have known was there.
Right.
So it makes sense just to come in. But that comes back to, and this is kind of another leg of it, is that it comes back to the episode that we had about generational curse.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times it's an educational thing. Like, hey, look, my parents never knew nothing about financial. This is the way they did. They was always late on bills all their life. So, this is just the norm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Nah, that's so true.
So
Nobody got to do better.
yeah, but hey, it is what it is.
What it is.
Outside of that, make sure you guys comment. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe. We getting a lot of love, getting a lot of feedback, and if there's any topics that you guys want us to cover, make sure y'all get that to us as well. Outside of that, we're gonna make sure we keep bringing y'all content, keep bringing y'all guests. We're gonna make sure that we bring Ralph back on with us again, because there's a whole bunch of things that we did not touch on, but you know what I'm saying, we're gonna touch on the next time that we come back on. But outside of that, appreciate you, Ralph, again, for coming and visiting with us and sharing this information. And we'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
All right.